Hey everyone, I'm back for the April 15th video. Again, if you're watching this, you should have already submitted your April 14th notes and homework on the Google Docs because I'll be uploading the answer key to the homework for April 14th. So make sure that you guys turn in this by 7 a.m. tomorrow. So this one will be due by 7 a.m. on April 16th. Because that's whenever I'll, in the morning, I will give you guys the answer key to this homework, so you need to do it before to get full participation points. All right, you guys, we talked about Pythagorean theorem and right triangle trig. Yesterday, we only set up the equations. Today, we're gonna set up the equations and solve for the variable. So remember, to do right triangle trig, we got a little mnemonic device, SOHCAHTOA. And whenever you're doing sine, cosine, or tangent, an angle must follow the trig function. So you guys, we're gonna do 3 examples today. You will have 3 homework problems, and that's it. So I hope that doing these shorter amounts of work will keep you a little more motivated. And remember, we are gonna go to a weekly grade, so you'll get a grade at the end of the week. All right, you guys, so here is the first triangle that we're gonna solve for a missing piece. Number 1, okay, please remember, write all that down on your piece of paper though. Your notes have to look exactly like what's written on the board. So you label 415 on a brand new sheet of paper, you write out that information, and then you get to do the examples with me. Number 1 has a right triangle. Sorry if my right triangles are ugly, but I'm gonna give it 40 degrees up here. I'm going to give this side 7 and this side x. So once we have an angle given to us, we know that we're going to use right triangle trig. We're not going to use the Pythagorean theorem. The key is, which trig function should I use? Sine, cosine, or tangent? And in order to know that, I label my sides. Across from the 90 degrees is the height. Across from the angle that I'm given is the opposite side. And the third remaining side is the adjacent side. Now I look at my 3 sides and I scribble out the side that has no information on it. The hypotenuse doesn't have anything on that side. So now I know that 7 is the adjacent, x is the opposite side, and I should do the TOA part of SOHCAHTOA. So that is represented by tangent of the angle 40 degrees is equal to a ratio or a fraction of the opposite side, which is x, divided by the adjacent side, which is 7. Now, if you remember from your geometry days, that the tangent of 40 degrees is something that you can plug in your calculator. If you plug it in your calculator, I already did it, you should get 0.84 approximately. So this is just an ugly decimal number, and our goal is to get x by itself. So we just do, hopefully, a simple solve step. Divide by 7, the opposite of that is to multiply by 7. On the right side, they reduce or cancel each other, but you have to multiply the left side by 7. So all I'm gonna do is take 7 times the tangent of 40 degrees in my calculator, because that equals x. When I do that, I round to the 10th place and I get 5.9 is equal to x. All right, so example number 2. And please remember, you guys can watch this in its entirety, pause it, and then copy things down, so you do not have to write down as I'm doing the problem. Whatever works for you is good with me. So number 2, here's gonna be your next right triangle. Again, if my right triangles are ugly, I apologize. I'm gonna put 14 there, x there, and 9 there. So whenever I look at this, I realize there is no angle that I'm referring to. The 3 sides of a right triangle are labeled, so this is the Pythagorean theorem. So the Pythagorean theorem states that across from the 90 is still the height, but you don't care which leg is the opposite and which is the adjacent. These are just legs. And the Pythagorean theorem states that we take a leg squared plus a leg squared. It doesn't matter which leg we use. I like to use the variable first if it's a leg. So I'm going to say a leg squared plus the other leg squared equals the hypotenuse squared. take out my little calculator. Some of these I can maybe do in my head. Actually, maybe both of these you can do in your head. But you would have x squared is, plus 9 squared is 81, equals 14 squared is 196. Now when you minus 81 from both sides, you get x squared is equal to 115. Now here's the only thing that you did in your geometry class that I'm not super keen on, is you got rid of squared by taking a square root, but you didn't really remember there's got to be plus or minus in front of it. We're going to let you use decimals in this section, or on today, but when you take a square root, you got to use plus or minus, and the square root of 115 is approximately 10.7. But in geometry, the reason why you did not keep the plus or minus is there is no way that this leg could have a negative distance. The distances or the sides of a triangle have to be positive, so you get to throw away the negative 10.7, it's not valid. So you guys, in geometry, you skipped this step all the time. Algebraically, it should be there, but they were only doing distances, which have to be positive. Okay, last example of the day. Number 3, we're gonna have another right triangle. Whether we do trig or Pythagorean theorem, we need a right triangle. And our triangle is gonna look like so. And here's my right angle. I'm gonna put 64 degrees there. I'll put an X there and a 5 there. All right, so now that we have an angle, we know we're gonna use right triangle trig. We just gotta make sure that we label them appropriately. So across from the 90 degrees is the height. Across from the angle that they give you is the opposite side. And the third remaining side is the adjacent side. After I label any side that doesn't have any information given on it, I scribble it out. They don't tell me anything about the opposite side. So I look at the A and the H, and I know it's the ka part of SOHCAHTOA. So I set up as cosine of the angle, 64 degrees, is equal to a ratio or a fraction, and it's the adjacent side, which is 5, divided by the hypotenuse, which is x. Now, in order to get x by itself, the first thing that we would have to do is get x out of the denominator. So you guys, in order to get rid of divide by x, we multiply by x. When we do that, on the right side, the x's reduce or cancel, but we gotta be fair. If you multiply the right side by x, you have to multiply the left side by x. So now I have the variable x times cosine of 64 degrees is equal to 5. But remember from your geometry days, you can type in the cosine of 64 degrees in your calculator, and it's just a decimal number. So in order to get rid of times a decimal number, I will divide by that decimal number on both sides. So I'll divide by the cosine of 64 degrees. On the left side, they will reduce or cancel, but I have to also divide on the right side. So now I have x, which is isolated or by itself, and when I type in 5 divided by the cosine of 64 degrees, I get approximately 11.4 is the distance for the hypotenuse, or the length of the hypotenuse. All right, you guys, so today the homework is a little bit different than last night. Last night, all you had to do was set up the equation. Now what you are gonna do is you're gonna set up the equation and solve for the missing variable. So I'll do the same thing. I'll just kind of show you the problems on the screen here. Before I do that, I want to make sure you guys, again, just try your hardest. Let me know what I can help you guys with. Otherwise, stay on top of things and good luck. It's your boy, Mr. Pete. Here we go. Here are your 3 homework problems for April 15th. Again, you can pause the video, copy them down, and again, show all your work with your answer before you upload it to your Google Doc and classwork. All right, have a great day. See you guys.